Hello my lovely friends, it's Margaret and it's time to nerd out about Not If I Save You First by Allie Carter. Not If I Save You First is Allie Carter's new standalone. It came out in March. If you follow me on Instagram at all, you know I love Allie Carter. I'm a huge fan of hers. I have been following her since I read the Gallagher Girls series for the very first time. I've read the Gallagher Girls series like, I don't even know how many times I've read that series. I loved it. Still love, I guess, present tense, because I really want to reread it again. This is her newest book and I was super stoked for it. This will be a spoiler-free review, by the way. So basically, Not If I Save You First is about Maddie and Logan. They used to be best friends. Logan's dad is the president of the United States and her dad was the head of the Secret Service. They grew up together. They got into hijinks together. But then after the president's wife almost gets kidnapped, Maddie's dad quits his job, packs her up, and they all go to live in the middle of nowhere in Alaska, which is where Maddie has been for the last several years. Now, Logan has been doing his usual president's son thing, but he gets into a little bit of trouble. So his dad sends Logan up to Alaska to be with Maddie and her dad and get straightened out. It doesn't go well, primarily because someone is after Logan and that someone follows Logan to Alaska. Which leads to Maddie and Logan spending most of the book traveling across the wilds of Alaska and trying not to get eaten by bears. Alright, so like I said, Allie Carter is one of my favorite authors, and this book did not disappoint. I was so happy with it. It was everything I expect an Allie Carter book to be. It had a kick-ass heroine, it had a dreamy boy, it had a really fun romance, and it had, with, the usual romantic complications. So this is actually a smaller cast than I'm used to reading in Allie Carter books. Usually she has several characters, but there were at most 3 characters max at any given time. For most of the book. But it was still really interesting to see how she worked with that and how she kept forwarding the plot and creating dramatic tension just with what was going on between the characters that were there. She did a really good job of using the environment that they were in to not only hurt them, but also to help them. There were several places where they got into trouble because they weren't expecting something that was about to happen, and then there were a couple of places where Maddie, because she's been in Alaska for years and years and years, was able to twist what was going on. She knows the surroundings like the back of her hand. Maddie was actually one of my favorite characters. I really have always liked Allie's heroines just because they don't sit around. They go and they do things, and they don't sitting still. Maddie was a little bit different though, because Maddie was unapologetically a girly girl. You find out the very first chapter, not the very first, but one of the first chapters where she's in Alaska, she has a hatchet that she bedazzled. It's on the back of the book. She has a hatchet that she bedazzled. She is unapologetically girly. There are 2 great things about that, is that she uses that, but also that it's seen as it's not seen as anything wrong with her, it's just seen as part of her. Oh, this is more like what Alaska's like when she carries a revolver when she gets up to pee in the middle of the night. She knows her stuff. Her dad taught her a lot of what she knows. So, a lot of the time when you have a girly girl, they complain about her being vain. She's always into the dresses and the pretty things, and it's not inherently seen as a bad thing. She's never put down for it. No spoilers, I promise. This is Logan, and he's talking about Maddie. But that girl hadn't been silly. She hadn't been vain. She was just bedazzled. I really like that Allie Carter took the fact that she was girly and made it part of her character and made it work with the plot, and made it so completely she does. It's hilarious. She knows how to take certain things that are girly and use them as weapons, which is really fun because you don't see a lot of that. She writes so pretty. Here's one, and there again, no spoilers, but the clouds stayed heavy and the sky stayed dim, but all around them the world shone like it was covered with crystals. That is such a pretty description, guys. Sounds cold. I would have died in the first 2 minutes of this book. Yes, I would have died in the first 2 minutes of this book because, number 1, I am not equipped for combat situations, and number 2, I don't do cold. I would have just frozen. I liked Maddie. I liked the small cat. I did like Logan, but not as much as Maddie. He was sweet. He was stupid at times, as teenagers are wont to be. One of the interesting things was the reason she's mad at him, she has a legitimate reason to be mad at him, but it's not one of those reasons that's so bad it can't be overcome and it can't be worked through. But also the reason she's mad at him, he also has a legitimate reason for having exhibited that behavior. did not agree with the reason, but I understood the reason. She used so many good tropes here, like, and they're all like the fun kind of almost spy tropes. It was so great. I'm just sitting there going, ow! Like, I can't tell you what they are, obviously, but they were good, and they were like the perfect, like, it's just, it wasn't a spy romance, but it was almost a spy romance because they were kind of having to be a little sneaky at times. This is the first one I've read of hers that she did dual point of views, and I really, really liked how she crafted that. Like Logan, one of Logan's, where is it? One of Logan's descriptions and how he kind of is relating, one of his is, he's talking about himself and how he's hit puberty and is always growing. And he was like the Incredible Hulk, except not green and not quite so angry. They had two completely separate points of view, and you could tell whose point of view it is. And I know sometimes that is hard, especially when you are doing a third-person point of view. Oh yeah, there's an Easter egg in here. If you read the Gallagher Girl series, there's an Easter egg in here. I was so happy with that. This is one of those that it kept turning because it kept you turning the pages, because like she would start, like you get a little bit of what was going on, and then stuff would happen and it'd be like, oh, we're gonna have to interrupt this conversation to not die. And you'd have to wait until it got back around. Like, eventually the whole story comes out, but, like, the way she does it, it's very natural. The interruptions, like, the reason it's being kept back is very natural. The fact that, like, they're kind of reluctant to reveal their feelings. It's weird for them because they were best friends as kids and did all this, like, fun stuff. And then it's, like, all of a sudden they're meeting at, like, 16 or 17 is like, oh, you're hot now. Whoops. She does that. She does that with her plots. Like, you never quite have the whole story until the very end. So she keeps you just turning those pages and going, okay, but this like, she answers your questions as you're reading, but your answers give you more questions. So that was my review of Not If I Save You First by Allie Carter. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. And I was so sad that this is only one book, guys. Have you read this book? Are you interested in reading this book? Have you read Allie Carter at all? Comment down below. If you found this review helpful, don't forget to subscribe. I post bookish chats every Saturday, as well as other videos sometimes throughout the week. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram as @thewordnerd, and don't forget nerd has a 3 instead of the E in it. I also have a blog where I talk about books and writing. That's where I usually talk about my personal writing projects, and I do my monthly wrap-ups. If you would like to check that out, the link is down below. That's it for now, guys. I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!